Bill Bergquist here with Burns Engineering. I'm going to run through our transmitter offering today. We have a line of wired transmitters, and we also handle the line of Oleum Tech wireless transmitters. And I think what we'll do is we'll just clear the deck here, and I'll step through each one of these and do just a quick review. Alright, first we'll start off with our T51 and T55 transmitters. These both look the same, but they actually do quite different things. The T51 is a smart transmitter that has an accuracy of plus or minus 0.05% of the calibrated span, or plus or minus 0.2 degrees C, whichever is greater. The T55 has heart communications capability, and actually is a little more accurate. It is 0.1 degrees C, or again at 0.05% of the calibrated span. If you look on the side label here, we can see the part number T55, and since these parts are manufactured by PR Electronics, their part number is right below that. Same for the T51 here. See their part number. Now if we look at some of the approvals it has, we get the CE marking, and you'll find more information about all the different approvals that the transmitter has on the data sheet, which will appears on our website. It's burnsengineering.com. There's also a T57 transmitter, which looks the same as both of these. That one has the Heart 5 and Heart 7 communications capability. Any three of those transmitters will fit in one of our standard connection heads like this one. This one happens to be polypropylene, and you can see inside here the little mounting holes for the transmitter. Earlier, for the T51, 55, and T57 transmitters, we do have rail mount versions of these. So if you don't need the little DIN B size connection head style transmitter, there is a rail mount version, and we'll add an image into the video here of those for you to look at. Performance is the same with those as the little DIN B size version. Next one I want to look at is our model TL transmitter, and this is one that has been around for decades. It was originally designed back in the late 80s and has been seeing continued popularity. This is an analog transmitter, and it's set up specifically for a 3-wire RTD. It does not do thermocouples, it's just strictly for a 3-wire RTD. The T51 and 55 and the T57 both have the capability of RTDs or thermocouples. So anyway, this one uses potentiometers to adjust the zero and span. It fits inside of our HD05 explosion-proof connection head. Unfortunately, it's a little too large to fit in the smaller heads like the polypropylene one that I just showed. And there's a little diagram on the side to show you how to wire it up. Typically with an RTD, the 2 white leads go to this B and C terminals, and the white lead goes to the A terminal, and they're also labeled right on the other side there. And this one is set up with some little plug-in resistors. If you pull the back off, you'll see there's 4 resistors in there, and those are values that are set to work with the potentiometers to give you about a plus or minus 25 degrees C span adjustability with just the potentiometers. It's a very stable device, very repeatable output from it. Again, it's 4 to 20 milliamps like the other transmitters we'll be talking about. I guess one of the main features of it is that it's real easy to tune a temperature measurement loop just by turning one of the zero or span potentiometers, and that's kind of where it sees its most popularity. We have a DIN rail adapter for it, and also this base plate is sized so that it fits in this plastic snap track that's used in some electronics cabinets and things. I wanted to show a few indicators here. This one happens to be it can be set up as an RTD or a thermocouple transmitter. It's actually two different versions of this display. This is in a stainless steel housing. There's also a plastic housing that the same indicator head fits into. It's just a simple little ring that snaps off. Inside the transmitter here, take a look at the indicator. And this has 3 push buttons that are used to set up the transmitter. We bring in the power right to the terminals here, a little plus minus power. And to drive the display, you do need to have a transmitter, either the T51, T55, or even the T57 will function with this indicator. So the transmitter mounts right inside the housing, and the display drops right on top of it. This can be rotated in any orientation you might need. Can be set up degrees F or C. But the only other thing to look at, some of the port arrangements can be specified in different locations. Like this one has them coming out the sides. There's another version that has a port coming out of one side, and then the other one comes out of the back here. There's also a battery powered version of this that looks almost identical to what this is. Battery life up to about 2 years. It's a AA size 3.6 volt lithium cell that runs it. Alright, next up is the T75 indicating transmitter. This one is in an explosion proof housing, and if we look at the label here, I don't know if you can read that. I got a little bit of glare coming off of there, but there's ratings for just about every possible situation, including it is CE marked. There are 3 conduit ports on it, 2 on the side here, 1 on the bottom. The indicator snaps out of here. If I can just pull this out, and the orientation can be changed in 90-degree increments, and it just has these little plug-in connectors to complete the circuit as you rotate it around in the housing. And if we look in the housing here, you can see the transmitter sits in the bottom. This happens to be the T57 that's used in this unit. Plenty of room for wiring. And one of the main features of this unit is that these buttons are actually optical buttons, so we can have the cover on the display. There's just ton of threads here. I'll get this screwed back on here. So you can actually change the settings on the display right through the glass window here. You do not need to remove the cover. So if it's in a hazardous environment, you don't need to you know, be cautious with this. You can just go ahead and use those optical buttons and go ahead and reconfigure it to whatever settings you may need. Again, that T57 transmitter that's in here is HART 5N7 compatible, so that can be also configured remotely or with a, you know, a handheld communicator. Alright, next up is our wireless transmitters, and I'm just going to do a quick overview of these. There's a lot of information on our website. Also, you can look at the Oleum Tech website also, but I would encourage you to go to our site first, and if you have questions or need more information about it, you know, feel free to contact us and we can help you out with these. Now this particular one is what they call their GP, or kind of their general purpose wireless transmitter. So we have a built-in antenna here and a variety of temperature probes that can go with it. This one's also battery powered, so it can be completely remote. This is a typical battery for it, just pops in here, plugs in. Battery life can be up to, you know, roughly 10 years depending on the settings that you're using with it. And again, this particular housing is not explosion proof, so it's just for general purpose applications. There is the explosion proof version, which looks the same, or at least very similar. This is, I shouldn't even say explosion proof, it's intrinsically safe. So we have this, again, just the housing, the antenna, and inside here we have a very similar setup. This one uses a little different battery. They use colors to give you at least an indication of which battery should be used with which sensor device, because they are the same size, it's just they go with the different colors. And again, this just plugs right into the board down here. And then the sensor is attached in a separate connection head. Again, a variety of temperature probes can be mounted here. It doesn't have to be this particular style. And inside here there's a terminal block for connecting up the probe wires. And again, this one is intrinsically safe. It sees a lot of service in hazardous atmospheres. And again, it's completely wireless. Battery life again is about the same at 10 years as the general purpose. And this one I don't think I mentioned, they just go with the OTC name for it. I think this was their original Oleum Tech product that they came out with. It's a very reliable unit, very secure. They have an excellent security function for it. So very little concern there about somebody breaking into your wireless system and screwing it up. So these two devices are the gateways that we offer for the wireless transmitters. This one is the DH3, and it has a lot of capabilities. It's inputs for USB 1 and 2 Ethernet. There's also a USB mini connector. You can see it on the other side here. another serial connector there. And this is kind of the traffic cop for all the wireless signals that you might be bringing in. This also, it mounts on a 35, I think it's a 35 millimeter DIN rail, just with the clamp on the back here. This device is also a gateway, a little different setup, doesn't have as much capability as the DH3. And you can see there's just the mini DIN connector here for programming. This snaps onto the same kind of rail with a little clip on the back here. And they can also be powered right off the DIN rail. So in addition to those, there is what they call their wireless input-output devices. You can see right on there, there's an A and a B radio. So these would typically be used for sending, for example, a 4 to 20 milliamp signal from, some location here to over here. You can input a 4 to 20 milliamp from a transmitter. It'll send it over to the other one. You can take that off to whatever control piece of equipment you may have for it. And one of the things I have found a bit confusing when I first started working with this stuff is that a lot of their devices at first glance kind of look the same. And this is an example of how they do kind of look the same, because we have this wireless input-output AB. It's the same package. A quick glance at the front shows that they do kind of look the same. However, they are labeled quite clearly, and I guess there's very little chance of really getting too much confusion with them. This particular one here now, this uses modules. So you have two radios, which are these two here, and then it uses these modules. And this module is what they call a 4 to 20 milliamp module. So you'd use this for bringing in a transmitter signal and transmitting it wirelessly between these two setups. And you can have several of these, and there's, like I said, there's more detail on how all these work on our website, or probably best to call. It's a little easier than trying to wade through this on your own, because it can be a bit confusing. But after working with this, there are, I think we can help smooth out some of the kind of the bumps in the road that you're going to run into if you just go start reading about it on your own. Again, these are all kind of the same clips on the back for DIN rail mounting. And then there are some accessories that go with these. This is a remote antenna. Can attach it. We have the cable extensions for it. There's another antenna that I did not bring here, which is, I don't know, it's a couple feet long, and it's used for long distance transmission. That's one other thing I should mention is that I did a webinar a while back on wireless temperature measurement, and we'll have a link to that here also. So if you need a little more detail on trying to decide if wireless is something that you want to try to do, that webinar should help you make that decision, or at the very least it maybe will raise some more questions that you need to have answered to make that decision. And I think that is about it. If you have further questions about our transmitters, feel free to visit our website or contact myself, or you can email info@burnsengineering.com, and that is a email box that is checked regularly, and we will answer any questions you may have about any of our temperature transmitters.